Welcome to the second political forum to hear the views of the candidates for 3 four-year terms for the East Brunswick Township Council. I'm the moderator, Ruth Gaynor, from Middletown, New Jersey, of Monmouth County. If you need voting information, you may call the League of Women Voters in Trenton. It's an 800 number, 800-792-8836. I'll give you this information again at the close of our program. First, today, let me explain the approved format. There will be no opening statements. Reporters from 2 newspapers will alternate questions, beginning with a Republican candidate today. Our reporters are Jane Furse from the Home News and Rhea Basroon from the Sentinel. Questions will address financial issues and government services. The questions will be asked on subjects for which the candidates would have responsibility if elected to the council. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer the questions. Each party will have an opportunity to give a 1-minute rebuttal. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And now we will begin. Our first question will be from Jane Furse, and it will be for our Republican candidate, Tony Criscuolo.
The Republicans have argued that the reassessment of local properties will inevitably lead to tax increases. Mr. Criscuolo, on what basis do you make this argument? And given the fact that the revaluation was ordered by the county, what can be done about it?
Let's see. Jane, the reevaluation they say has been ordered by the county. But if we had, our tax assessor had been doing his job properly, East Brunswick probably would not have to be reevaluated. As an example, a person, let's say, take a $100,000 home that's been assessed, say, at $40,000. The person's, with this reevaluation, this person's taxes are going to go up 25%. Some of the homes that have been assessed at 30%, these homes will probably go up somewhere in the vicinity of 70%. This is just one of the things that the tax assessor has not been doing his job properly. Some industries are not paying their full share of the tax burden. And this is why we have been ordered to come through with this reevaluation. Now, this reevaluation has been, a contract has been signed and should have been done by October 1st of this year. It has not been done. This is an indication that Mayor Fox and the administration must have something to hide. Otherwise, they would have released this information a long time ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Criscuolo. And now perhaps the Democrats would like to have their 1-minute rebuttal.
Yes. If a municipality does not comply with the county taxation board to reevaluate the entire community, the tax board will then will reevaluate the town for you and then charge the town for that service. But the big question is, will your taxes increase? Not necessarily. The tax rate will be lower. The tax base will be larger. The amount of money, the amount of revenue to be raised will not increase because of the reevaluation. On average, your taxes will remain the same. The contract was to be completed by October the 30th. At that point, the tax assessor will then strike the assessment. This will be completed by the end of the year.
Thank you, Elaine Denahan. Our second question will be asked by Rhea Basroon, and she will ask Michael Baker, our Democratic candidate for the Township Council.
Many plans have been designed to improve the appearance of Route 18. As a member of the Township Council, what measures would you take to implement some of these plans?
The one plans that come to mind, I guess you're speaking of, are the uniform sign ordinance and the ordinance which requires fast food restaurants to be located in existing malls. Obviously, the sign ordinance would go a long way to clutter up the glittery or obtrusive nature of many of these signs along the highway. And the requirement that fast food restaurants be located in existing shopping centers helps to cut down the many egresses and ingresses, the extra flow on and off of the highway. The sign ordinance is in the works. Some suggestions have been made. It's going to be tough, though, to ask everybody to take down their signs and put up new signs in requirements of meeting that ordinance. What is important, though, is that new signs meet that ordinance, that new signs are in conformity with the standard we would like to see. I think it's also important that what open spaces are left on the highway are developed in a more aesthetically pleasing nature with low-rise business complexes and offices rather than the retail stores that we have now.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Now, to the Republican side, do we have a rebuttal or a response?
What's really important about Route 18 is not its appearance. What's important about Route 18 are its traffic problems. I think we should give these problems precedence over the appearance of Route 18. I have often spoken in East Brunswick about how important I felt green areas were in the town, and I would laud any efforts to retain green areas anywhere in town, including on Route 18. But let's get our priorities in order. Let's clean up the traffic problems first.
Thank you. The third question, Jane, for Ms. Tisiker.
Yes, Ms. Tisiker. The question is here. The township has recently committed itself to building a $1 million senior citizen center, considering that it is likely that an elementary school may be vacant within the next few years. Do you believe the expense is justified?
I had a very interesting experience recently. I spoke at the Chamber of Commerce at their monthly meeting last Thursday. Next to me was a young man who works in our town. He's a graduate student at Rutgers and had recently done his master's thesis. He did it using East Brunswick as a model. One of the interesting facts he found out was that by the year 2020, and that's not as far away as we wish it were, the population of East Brunswick would consist of 49.5% senior citizens. Senior citizens in his report were defined as people 55 years of age and older. Considering this, I think that everything we do to aid the senior citizens is important. All of us sitting on this panel will be part of that group in the year 2020. And I think that we all want to see the very best services provided for all of our senior citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Tisiker. Response?
I don't think Sue really answered the question. The question was whether the township should build a senior citizen center or use a schoolhouse which may be vacated in the near future. The Republican councilman currently on the council now has objected to the building of that senior citizen center. He said that they should put the seniors in an old schoolhouse, a schoolhouse with 2 floors. Now, if you know anything about seniors, you know that many of them have movement difficulties, and they could not use an old building with 2 floors. The seniors in this town, as Sue said, and we will be part of that group, deserve more than an old schoolhouse. They deserve a complex that can provide nutrition programs, a complex that can have proper activities, and a complex that they can get from one place to another without having to go over hurdles such as stairs, which they can't make.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Question number 4 will be for Mrs. Elaine Denahan, the Democratic candidate for East Brunswick Township Council.
If you and your running mates are elected, the Democrats will continue to hold 4 out of 5 council seats. How would you defend this governing body as opposed to more equal party representation?
Well, we've certainly heard that we have a one-party system in town and that we need the two-party system. But if you look back, We've always had a chance, the voters have always had a chance to elect a two-party system. Each year, they go to the polls, and each and every time, they choose the Democratic candidate. We do have a two-party system. They, the voters, continue to vote for the Democrats.
And now a response from the Republican.
Ruth, I'd like to
Mr.
respond
Seigler?
to that. Granted that for the past 18 years, we've had a Democratic council. In the last 2 years, we've had one Republican on this council. Now, most of the leading issues, when voted upon by the council, ended up in a 4-to-1 vote. I feel that looking at it from a democratic standpoint, a two-party system is important. And when issues regarding our town are brought up, I feel that we have more, let's say, feelings for the people of this town if we had more Republicans on our council.
Thank you, Mr. Seigel. And Mr. Seigel, it will be your turn then for the question.
Yes, Mr. Seigel. You have said that the township administrators and staff are too numerous and too highly paid. On what basis do you make this conclusion, and what would you do about it as a member of the council?
All right, being a businessman, Jane, you learn that, normally speaking, in industry today, a job's remuneration is normally based on what is involved in that particular job. Let's take the 5 directors or top 5 directors of our township. For an example, our director of finance, our director of administration or administrator, our director of planning, our director of public safety, and our director of recreation and parks. The average salary for these people are $43,619. But the encumbrance to our town with their benefits is $63,000 each, $248. Now, looking at it from a comparative standpoint of what industry is paying people today, I say, number one, for the job that they're doing, they're overpaid, and number two, it's an added cost to this township. There are other areas also, as far as administration is concerned, that I feel bear some looking into. If you take the Department of Public Safety, we recently hired a new director for the tune of $73,000 plus encumbrance to our township, even though his salary is only $46,000. If you take the fringe benefits, which actually cost our town the additional 55%, this is an enormous expenditure. And looking at it again compared to industry out there today, and I'm presently involved in an industry in our area, there is no one paying those type of fringe benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Seigel. And a response?
I will take that, Madam Moderator. I think everybody has to realize that when you're running a $13 million operation, whether it be government or whether it be private industry, that is a huge, complex operation to make sure that it's run properly. The operations or the business and the private government have to make sure that responsible people are running that kind of operation. And in fact, East Brunswick is in competition for the very best management it can buy. And in fact, the salaries that Mr. Seigel had quoted were not exorbitantly high, that they are in fact competitive with private industry. And I think it's incumbent upon the council, whatever council sits, will have to make sure that department heads are picked for their professionalism and that they are awarded the salary that they need to do the job properly.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. And now it is Mr. Jerry O'Connor's turn to take one of the questions from Rhea.
Currently, the township negotiates with its employees' union through a member of the administrative staff who is not a member of the union. Do you believe there could be a potential conflict of interest, and would the taxpayers be better served with a professional negotiator?
Rhea, I think that the person who has negotiated with the unions, the employees' unions, has done a fine job. He's had the experience for the past 10 years in doing that sort of thing. And I have to go back to the rebuttal that I just made a few moments ago, and that is that we have to make sure that the people who work in this township are giving every bit of their service to the residents of this township, and that they have to be awarded and paid the salary for the services that are performed. It is absolutely essential that the people who work in this township give 100% of the time for the residents of this township, and that services that they perform are given or awarded by the salary appropriate for that job. And I think that what we've done so far has been competitive in spirit and competitive in nature, and that we are paying no more for people working in this township than industry would be paying their people.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Now a response from the Republican.
Okay, I'll take that. Under these salary negotiations, the township administrator, John Runyon, negotiates the township employees' union contracts. He also receives the same percentage of increase in salary that he negotiates for. And presently he's making over $72,000. But in addition to this, he has negotiated a contract with the police department on pensions, which he gave them retirement after 20 years, which has been knocked down by the state, which is an indication that he is not a negotiator. He does not know what he's doing. Therefore, we should have professional negotiators dealing for East Brunswick and take the amateurs out of the picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Criscuolo. And you see that we have asked questions of each of the candidates, and now we will start our second go-around. And Mr. Criscuolo, I believe you're number one, and Mrs. Basroon will give us the first question.
Are you satisfied with the services provided by the police department? And if not, how would you improve them?
Rhea, the police department is just one department, but I believe we have to include all the departments. When you have administrators who misuse their office, or you might say arrogance of power in office, people that take 3-hour lunches, have expense accounts where they use $85 hamburgers to take people out. They are setting a bad example and lowering the morale of the rest of the people. I think what we have to do is get these administrators and supervisors in a position where they set an example instead of...
Mr. Criscuolo, I think the question concerned the services of the police department. I just want to direct it to the right. Is that right?
I'm including the services of the entire administration, leave alone in addition to the police department. This holds true for all the departments, including the police department. This holds true for the supervisors in all departments, especially the police department, but it starts with our administrator. They are setting a bad example for the rest of the departments, such as having the director pass out for 9 months on sick leave and what have you, without proper supervision. Without proper supervision, without accountability, the people are going to do what they want. This is what we have to get. Supervisors and administrators who will set a good example.
Could we have a rebuttal or response from the Democratic Party?
Yes,
Mrs.
thank you.
Denahan?
Thank you. Our police department responds to over 17,000 calls each year, and in addition, it issues nearly 10,000 summons. There are far more compliments than complaints to this department. We have radar checks, we have traffic safety, we're involved with juvenile issues. There are 64 police officers out there in the field on a daily basis. There are 14 people who supervise these members of the department that are in the field. I also want to talk about salaries for a minute and about the range. Our range for department heads compare to neighboring communities. The municipal manager or the director of New Brunswick makes $5,000 more than our business administrator here in East Brunswick. Thank you.
For our next question, Jane, would you have a question for Mr. Baker? Mr. Michael Baker, Democratic candidate for East Brunswick Township Council.
Yes, as it was mentioned earlier, Mr. Baker, the township recently hired a new director of public safety, and my question to you is, what advantages do you see in a civilian director as opposed to a uniformed police chief?
Foremost, the benefit of a civilian director is that if you have a uniform chief, in 5 years he attains tenure. So after 5 years he could not be fired. A civilian chief serves at the discretion of the mayor. If he's not doing his job, he can be removed. I think it's important to have someone outside the police force come in with his, in this instance, with many years of experience on the state police. It brings a different perspective to the job. It brings a different outlook rather than having a uniformed policeman coming up from the ranks. It also prevents a little bit of a buddy-buddy network from forming. When you are a chief of a department, it's a lot easier to direct the men, supervise, organize, and manage if you haven't been friends with them for 5, 10, 15 years. It makes it a lot easier to do his job, and he can be a lot more objective in doing it. I think the present director that we've just hired is a superb choice. I look forward to him doing a lot of new things, especially in the area of public relations.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. And the Republican response?
Ruth, I'll take that.
Mr. Seigler.
I feel that, and I've oftentimes mentioned this, that when you have a police department such as East Brunswick with 5 captains, 7 lieutenants, and 15 sergeants, the personnel on the top side are there. My feelings are this. I feel that, first off, we did not need a director of public safety from outside of our township. If these 5 captains are not qualified, or not one of them is qualified to serve as chief, then something is drastically wrong with our department. I also feel that when you're paying 5 captains in excess of $175,000 in salaries, something should be done as far as the running of this town by them. We've had Director Pash recently out for 9 months. The police department functioned, and I imagine, in no different situation as it did when he was here. So it proved to me, and as well as the township people, that our police force can perform its duties without a director of public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Seigler. And now our next question is for the Republican candidate, Sue Tisiker.
In order to keep taxes down, are there any services you believe could be cut back or run more efficiently?
I think there are many ways we can save money in municipal government. I don't necessarily support cutting back services because I think the municipality exists to provide services for its residents. Rather, I would see us look for areas where we can save unnecessary expenses. I have, for instance, the following suggestions. We might keep salaries and benefits in line with private industry. We might share purchases of bulk and large items with other communities. We might work with the school board to share facilities. We might review all new expenditures for ways to cut back. Mayor Koch has directed his department heads to cut their budgets 6%, and I favor making each department head in East Brunswick responsible for their 5% cap. We are overloaded with top brass. Here's a very specific example of how we can save some money in East Brunswick. This town has many organizations, very good ones, such as the museum, the Arts Council, the Senior Citizens, and the Recreation Department. All of these organizations send out bulletins. The township, in addition, sends out bills. Last year, we spent $53,000 on postage. We spent $40,000 on printing. Let's coordinate the printing and mailing of these bulletins, perhaps combining them with the bills that we send out. What a good way to save money and not cut back on services.
Thank you, Ms. Tisiker. And for the Democratic response.
The township
Mr.
does
Baker?
do a lot of things to save on money. Over the past 4 years, the tax rate in the township has not increased, and that's been through double-digit inflation. So when you look back on what that means that the department's heads have been doing, it means that they have been cutting their budgets and keeping their budgets down by a tune of about 10% a year. Not increasing by 5, but by reducing by 10. We have a citizens review board that goes over the budget line by line, not just the town council going over the budget, a citizens review board that looks at it, sees how much we're spending. Before we look at each rehiring of an employee from year to year, we make sure that that person's job is justified. Nobody gets a free ride around here. We have an efficiency tracking program that if somebody's not performing on the job, he will be notified and we'll know about it. Over the past 5 years, 12 people have been fired or asked to leave because they haven't been doing their job. We run a tight ship. We're going to continue to run a tight ship, and if we can find ways to save money, we will.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. And now we have a question for the Democratic candidate, Elaine Denahan. Jane?
Okay. The Democrats, Mrs. Denahan, have justified bonding for long-term capital expenses and have denied critics charges that bonding is a burden on the taxpayer. Do you believe that the administration uses the sale of bonds wisely, or is the debt service too large part of the budget?
Okay. Bonding is an effective financial tool, a tool that our township uses carefully, bearing in mind that the debt must be paid back. We bond for only capital improvements. By law, you cannot bond for operation expenses. The debt service is about 10% of the total money raised through taxes. The state sets a ceiling on the amount a community can bond for. We are far below the halfway point of that ceiling. We bond for only the useful item, the useful life of any item. We bond in a planned manner, increasing bonding as debt retires. No significant increase in our bonding over the last 3 years. The final and the best test about our bonding system is the way we are viewed by the financial community at large. Our bond rating is a AA from Moody's. A strong AA rating from Moody's indicates that our bonding policy is a good one.
All right, Mrs. Denahan, and now for the Republican response.
Thank you. We must learn to live within our means. We have to be careful of capital expenditures that circumvent the intent of the cap laws. Our Director of Finance has been adept at finding sources of revenue, and he is an expert at circumventing the 5% cap. The mayor and the council have the reputation of increasing the bonding and indebtedness more than any council in the last 30 years. They show no attitude of holding the line on expenditures. Our total indebtedness is $23 million, and there are about 10,000 households to pay for this. That's $2,300 per household. At one time, the council entertained the proposal to bond for tape recorders, diving equipment, headsets at the cost of $500, a walkie-talkie, folding tables, and a file cabinet. These should be taken out of operating capital. The heads of these departments should pay for these items out of their operating budget or do without.
Thank you, Ms. Tisiker. The next question will be for Mr. Arnie Seigler, the Republican candidate.
Mr. Seigler, the Democrats point out that the municipal tax rate has remained stable for the past 4 years, yet the Republicans point to rising taxes. The Democrats blame the increases on the spending by the Board of Education. Where do you stand on this issue?
Rhea, I've lived in this town 18 years plus. In the last 10, my taxes have gone up considerably. If, in fact, our tax rate has been stable, why has my taxes risen so much? I feel that looking at it from taxes, they're saying they're keeping it stable. I feel if they actually looked at where they're spending their money, they could even have a reduction in taxes in this town, or at best, compensate for the Board of Education increases. Instead, each and every township or each and every owner or taxpayer in this town has also been burdened with increases in the last 10 years.
All right, Mr. Seigler. And now for the Democratic rebuttal or response.
I'll take that, Madam Moderator. I think it's been mentioned just a few moments ago. In fact, it has been mentioned a few moments ago that the increase in taxes, or rather the municipal tax rate, has in fact remained stable. And stable means no increase. That is for municipal services. If one were to look at the property tax bill that one receives every single year, they will notice that there are 4 taxing agencies stated on that tax bill. There's municipal taxes for municipal services, there are taxes for county services, there are taxes for school board services, and there are taxes for fire district services. The Township Council is responsible for one of those taxing agencies, and that is municipal costs. That has, in fact, remained stable. If one were to look at the property tax bill and look at the other taxing agencies, those taxes have increased, not municipal taxes.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. And it looks like it's your turn once again to answer the question. Jane, do you have a question for
Yes,
Mr.
I do,
O'Connor? Mr.
O'Connor. The East Brunswick Housing Authority now owns the Victory Gardens apartments as a result of litigation that led to condemnation of those apartments. Do you consider this an appropriate use of township staff time? And now that the apartments have been renovated, would you support selling them to a private owner, developer?
Well, I'll answer the last part of the question first. That is always a very viable thing to be looking at, whether or not the township should sell the apartments to a private developer. Certainly what the township has done to, number one, first declare that a blighted area, because in fact it was a blighted area, was a good thing to do, because that protected property values not only within the immediate area, but certainly throughout the township. It is not my intent to ever see a portion of East Brunswick become blighted. So I think what was done in that sense was good. Now that the apartments are running very well, it is a possibility that we can sell that to a developer, but we would want to make absolutely sure that if a developer were to take that over, or an owner, or a new owner, or a private enterprise, that it be run exactly the way we want it to be run, and that is to maintain the property values of the surrounding area and do not let it become a blighted condition again.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. For the Republican response?
I'll take that, Ruth. First off, I'm going to look at it again from a business standpoint. What is the township itself doing in the housing business? The point that I think is most important, that our taxpayers should be aware of, is the fact that we made an investment of well over $400,000. The return on this is $36,000 in revenue or income. From that, they have to pay the maintenance costs and everything else that's involved in the running of Victory Gardens. If they took the money itself that they put into this project and stuck it in a CD, the net revenue would be in excess of $45,000. Again, it tells us, where is the business acumen on our council? Whatever the mayor wants, the mayor gets. And that's also, talking about taxes, the reason that East Brunswick is the fourth largest tax town in Middlesex County.
Thank you, Mr. Seigler. We have now asked each of the candidates 2 questions, and we're going back to the reporters, and they will ask 1 question of the Republicans, and let's see, let's start off, since Mr. Seigler, Mr. O'Connor asked, then we will ask 1 of the Republicans, and the Democrats will have their chance for rebuttal, and we will ask 1 question of the other party, so that we have 2 questions left.
Okay, I'll ask this one. If the Democrats win, will there be more of the same over the next, excuse me, next 4 years, or will there be a change of direction?
Now, you're asking,
The Democrats.
well, that's all right, that's fine, as long as we get it, and then we'll have it, all right. The question's already been asked.
Rhea, would you repeat the question again? I wasn't sure who you were asking that of.
Yes, I'm sorry.
If the Democrats win this election, if you and your running mates win, can we expect more of this, excuse me, more of the same over the next 4 years?
Well, I would have to say yes, there would be more of the same, because number one, I am very, very proud of the way the Democratic council members, myself included, have responded to the needs of services demanded by the citizens in this township. It seems to me that with a very stable tax rate, with an increasing population year after year, there are more and more services demanded of township government. And for a government to be able to provide increased services at no increase in cost is rather commendable, especially in the past few years when inflation has been in double digits and the state says that we can't spend more than 5% of what we spent over last year. So I think what we've been doing is very good. I have to say that I think the services in this township have been maintained over the years, and that people are generally satisfied and look forward to the kinds of services that the township has maintained, and look forward to the services that it will do so in the future.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. O'Connor, and perhaps someone from the Republican side would like to respond?
Okay. I'll take it. If you call maintaining a stable tax rate, having farmers where they put a sewer line in and assess the farmers or vacant land $2,500 an acre, to force the farmers or anyone who owned vacant land to sell to developers in order to bring in developers to build houses in order to get more revenue, if you call this a stable tax rate, then something is wrong.
Brief and to the point. And now we will have a question for the Republicans. Jane, do you have a question this time?
Yes, I do. If the 3 of you find yourselves elected to the Township Council, I'm sure you'll be very happy, but if this turns out to be the case, what new programs or legislation can we expect from you?
I have a vision of East Brunswick. I have a vision of East Brunswick with no Wheelabrator Fry sitting at the edge of town. I have a vision of East Brunswick with no landfill polluting our water. I have a vision of East Brunswick where when we do a property revaluation, the people are notified on time so that they can plan. I have a vision of East Brunswick where we moderate the growth of our township so that we can provide the services that are needed: water, sewers, roads, and schools. I have a vision of East Brunswick where we retain the green acres that make our town so beautiful. A vision where we cut back on township spending and eliminate the frills. And a vision where we make the council more responsive to the people of East Brunswick. When we reach out to people and ask them to move to East Brunswick, we have to keep our promise our promise to give them clean air, clean water, a responsive government, and good roads.
Thank you, Ms. Tisiker. And for the Democratic side,
I too share
Baker.
an awful lot of Sue's visions for the future. I've lived here all my life. I'd like to raise my family here and continue living here. I think the difference between the Republican candidates and the Democratic candidates and the Democratic Party is that those visions that Susan has spoken about, we have actually done something about. We have long-range planning so that our roads are maintained, our water system is maintained. And if there's going to be a water supply problem in the future, we're planning for it. We, too, have looked into the residential nature of this township, and we would like to maintain it. So we're trying to have more affordable housing so young people with families just starting out, like many of you out there were when you started out, will be able to live here. We want clean water. We want clean air. We've passed air pollution ordinances, noise ordinance. We've changed the zoning at the Edgeboro landfill area. We've done a lot to implement what Susan would like to do. We are already one step ahead of her.
thank you, Mr. Baker. And due to our timing, we will now go on to the closing statements for each of the 6 candidates. And we will follow in order as we have for the questioning. Mr. Tony Criscuolo will be our first candidate. He's a Republican candidate for the East Brunswick Township Council, and he will start our closing statements.
All I would like to say is to our people that if they want Wheeler Fry in here, in East Brunswick, if they want a landfill in East Brunswick, if they want the air and water polluted, to continue and vote for the Democrats. On the other hand, if they want the landfill out, they want Wheeler Fry out, they want stabilized tax rates without any juggling of figures. There's an old cliche when it comes to working budgets that figures don't lie, but liars can figure. I would say if they want a clean government, clean air, clean water, then vote Republican. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Criscuolo. And now we will hear from the Democratic candidate, Mr. Michael Baker.
I don't think I'll respond and dignify some of Tony's comments, but I would like to mention one point that he talked about. Juggling figures. Today, we haven't been juggling figures. The Democratic administration does not juggle figures. But let me mention a few things that my opponent said today. The encumbrance to the town for the administrator is $73,000. That makes it sound as if that's his salary. It's not. His salary is $46,000. The remainder are fringes. And let's talk about those fringe benefits. What are they? Is it a condominium in Florida? No. It's insurance. It's dental. It's Rutgers Health Care Maintenance Program. It's a car allowance. And why a car allowance? Because the township found it was cheaper to give money for a person to maintain his own car rather than buy him a car. It's vacation days and sick days. Another thing that was mentioned, that it was entertained to buy scuba equipment and the like. Entertained means it was asked if we would buy that. We didn't buy that. From what Susan said, you might think that we had. Tony also mentioned the sewer assessment, taxing farmers out of existence. That assessment was voted down. The Democratic Council decided not to do that. But from what Tony said, you would think we were beating up on the poor farmers. Back to what the Democrats have done. 10 years ago, the last time there was a Republican mayor in town, there was a double B bond rating, which means the fiscal community didn't think we had that well-managed a town. Now we have a double A bond rating, a very well-managed town. You know, there's nothing cheaper than cheap labor. When you have cheap labor, nothing more expensive than cheap labor. If we were to reduce the salaries of our directors and administrators, in the long run it would cost you more money because we wouldn't get the same type of people that we have running this town. You deserve professionals. We supply you with professionals, and we're going to continue to supply you with professional government.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. And back to the Republicans, and this time we'll hear from Sue Tisiker.
This is the legacy of the Democrat administration. Spending has gone up 26.5% or 8% a year despite a 5% cap. The water rates in 5 years have gone up 90%, and even if you don't use the water, you pay a surcharge. The cost of sewerage has gone up 56% since 1980. Salary expenses for municipal employees have gone up at the rate of 9.5% per year over the last 3 years. Interest on notes and bonds has increased 36% over the past 3 years. And East Brunswick's tax rate is the 4th highest of the 25 towns in Middlesex County. If my opponents are elected, can you expect more of the same? You bet. The Republicans, on the other hand, have been trying to relieve the financial burden on the homeowner, and we believe that the money raised from taxes should be used to finance essential services and protect the quality of life that our residents want. Republican legislators have been responsible for defending our environment. John Bennett, an assemblyman in the 12th District, has had 9 bills affecting the environment passed in 3 years. Marie Mueller, an assemblywoman and congressional candidate in the 3rd District, has been active in cleaning up the burnt fly bog since 1962. Millicent Fenwick has taken a strong stand on cleanup of toxic waste and defense of our environment, and Republicans back up that commitment. Less than a month ago, we delivered a check for $5.7 million to Governor Kane for environmental projects in New Jersey. My running mates and I share with these legislators the following conviction: that what you need to preserve and protect the environment and protect the pocketbook of the people is not a flip-flop attitude, but vigilance and determination.
Thank you, Ms. Tisiker. And now we'll hear from Elaine Denahan, the Democratic candidate for Township Council.
Thank you. I'm committed to work for continued efficient government and to keep taxes down. However, we must provide the essential services our community needs. East Brunswick has done a good job in balancing these two objectives. We have maintained a stable municipal tax rate over the last 4 years, an accomplishment few businesses or governments have matched. This has been accomplished by controlling personnel and other costs. East Brunswick has fewer municipal employees per 1,000 residents than surrounding communities such as Edison, North Brunswick, New Brunswick. To control costs, we need professional, competent employees. Nothing is more expensive in the long run than poor management. I'll work to hold taxes down, but not at the expense of recreation, not at the expense of Camp Daisy, and not at the expense of the Senior Citizens Program. East Brunswick used bonding for capital projects in a conservative manner. Our AA rating by Moody's is proof of this. We are committed to controlling the size and the cost of government. We have in the past and we will in the future. The effective tax rate for East Brunswick places us in the middle. We're 12th out of 25 communities in Middlesex County, and this is documented in the New Jersey Division of Taxation's annual report. I also want to state that I support the position of the Director of Public Safety. The principle of civilian control over police force is well established in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Denahan. And now we will hear from the Republican candidate, Arnie Seigler.
Thanks, Ruth. In these days of gross unemployment, rising costs, excessive taxation, it really doesn't take an accountant long to figure out that if you spend or bring in revenue $50,000 and you spend $75,000 in expenses every year, you're bound eventually to get in trouble. A good example of this is the city of New York. We, the Republicans, are a new face on the political scene and have no ties with any regime or any special interest groups. We are also concerned and feel it's time to bring the two-party system back to East Brunswick and get away from the rubber stamp type of council we have had for 18 years. We have new ideas for bettering our community, which wouldn't cost the taxpayers additional money, but instead save considerable amounts. A good example of this is if the state of New Jersey has an Office of Community Affairs and the county of Middlesex has an Office of Community Affairs, is it really necessary for East Brunswick to have a Community Affairs Committee at the cost of, by the way, $25,000? The same thing with our police force, with the 5 captains and the 7 lieutenants and the 15 sergeants and only 48 patrolmen. Is it necessary for us to have a director of public safety at the cost to the taxpayers of $76,000? Why couldn't the police force enforce our codes? Do we need a code enforcement department for the cost of $37,000 plus secretary? Presently, I'd like to know who's checking who. Needless jobs, excessive duplication, at better than average pay is all taxpayers' money. I don't know of any performance reviews being taken care of now, and if I ran my business like the township is being run, it wouldn't be long before I'd be in a Chapter 11. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seigler. And now, Democratic candidate for East Brunswick Township Council, Jerry O'Connor.
If Mr. Seigler were to be run into Chapter 11 through municipal taxes, I dare say, if what he says is true, that he would probably be there already, although I guess Mr. Seigler is doing very well in this township. I have to say that, first, as far as bonding is concerned, which seems to be a major issue with most of the Republicans, in fact, all the Republicans running for office, is that the bonding in this township has been at its highest point in 1981. The financial planning of the township is such that the bonding levels will decrease to 0 by the year 2005. So by that time, any capital equipment that is purchased will be paid for on a pay-as-you-go basis. The financial planning in this township has gone well, and I think that when one considers that 12 cents out of every single dollar goes for the payment of principal and interest, that is not an exorbitant amount out of every single dollar. We have in this township a library, one of the finest in the state. 400,000 people have gone in and out of that library every single year. That library costs the taxpayer 6.7 cents out of every single tax dollar. That also is not exorbitant. We have a recreation parks program, as well as a public works program, maintaining the streets, maintaining the parks, providing recreation for all levels, all age levels in this township. Those programs cost 13 cents out of every single dollar. Adding all these up, these are the kinds of services that the township has provided in the past and will continue to provide in the future. And the cost to maintain these programs will be kept, again, at stable levels.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor, and thank you to all of the candidates. I think this has been a very informative session. And of course, we must congratulate our reporters for the fine questions that they have asked. Jane Furse of the Home News and Rhea Basroon of the Sentinel. There are a couple of things I do want to say. One is that there are schedules of the debates of when they will be repeated. They will be available at the library, at the East Brunswick Township Library. The League of Women Voters encourages all registered voters to vote on November 2nd. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. In this particular election, be sure and read your sample ballot ahead of time. There are 5 questions on the ballot. Always a good idea to read them and be prepared before you go into the voting booth. If you have a question about these issues on the ballot or any question about voting, there is a league hotline. It is a voting information service provided by the League of Women Voters, and that number is an 800 number, 800-792-8836. This will help you perhaps in understanding some of the ballot issues, the bonding, and the public question on nuclear freeze, and there are 5 questions that you will want to ask about. I think that it concludes our program this time, and thank you very much for watching.